Most people believe their emotions are caused by other people. They think someone's rejection created their pain, someone's silence created their anxiety, someone's criticism created their insecurity. But that is not how the mind works. Other people can trigger something inside you, but they do not create it. They reveal it. That distinction changes everything. The moment you understand that, you stop living as a hostage to the moods, opinions, and behavior of everyone around you. If another person can ruin your entire day with a text message, a look, or a change in tone, then they are the ones who can ruin your entire day with a text message, a look, or a change in tone. Then they are holding a level of influence over your nervous system that should belong only to you. Most people never question this arrangement. They hand emotional authority to strangers, partners, family members, coworkers, and even people online. Then they wonder why life feels unstable. It feels unstable because they built their inner state on external variables. Psychology shows us that emotional reactions are often linked to learned attachment patterns. If someone fears abandonment, they may panic when a message goes unanswered. If someone fears intimacy, they may feel trapped when love gets close. If someone learned that approval equals safety, criticism feels like danger. These reactions feel automatic because they were practiced for years. But automatic does not mean permanent. What most people call sensitivity is often conditioning. What they call intuition is sometimes fear wearing a clever disguise. What they call love can be dependency. If you do not examine your reactions, you will mislabel them and obey them. That is how people stay trapped in cycles they think are part of their personality. The strongest person in the room is rarely the loudest or most aggressive. It is the person who remains centered when others become chaotic. The one who does not absorb every emotional signal like a sponge. The one who can hear criticism without collapsing, experience distance without desperation, and witness disrespect without losing self-control. That kind of composure is not coldness. It is mastery. Stoic philosophers understood this centuries ago. They taught that suffering often comes not from events themselves, but from the judgments we attach to them. A delayed response becomes I am being ignored. A disagreement becomes I am losing connection. A harsh comment becomes I am not enough. Notice how quickly the mind creates meaning. Then notice how emotionally attached we become to stories we invented in seconds. The practical shift is simple, but not easy. When something affects you, pause and ask, what exactly was touched inside me? Was it my pride? My fear of rejection? My need for certainty? My need to be chosen? This question redirects attention away from blaming others and toward understanding yourself. That is where power begins. When you stop reacting instantly, you interrupt the pattern. When you observe the emotion instead of becoming it, you create distance. In that distance, intelligence returns. You no longer speak from panic, chase from insecurity, or withdraw from wounded ego. You respond with intention. This is why boundaries matter. Boundaries are not walls to punish others. They are structures that protect your peace. They allow you to engage with people without surrendering your stability. You can care deeply without becoming emotionally owned. You can love someone without making them the source of your identity. And once you learn this, something remarkable happens. You stop needing everyone to behave perfectly for you to feel okay. You stop trying to manage every tone, every message, every opinion. You become less fragile and more free. The world does not become softer. You become stronger. That is the real goal, not controlling people, but reclaiming control of yourself. When no one else controls your inner state, you become dangerous to chaos. Once you begin mastering your emotional reactions, you become a force to be reckoned with. The next level is deeper and far more important. It is not enough to control visible behavior if the hidden wounds beneath it remain untouched. Many people look calm on the surface while internally starving for validation. They appear independent, yet every decision is shaped by the fear of losing approval. This is where attachment patterns quietly control a life. Attachment style is not just about relationships. It is about identity. It is the lens through which you interpret connection, distance, trust, conflict, and self-worth. If that lens is distorted, then even healthy situations feel threatening. A delayed reply feels like abandonment. A request for space feels like rejection. Genuine affection feels suspicious. Criticism feels like proof of unworthiness. The outside world has not changed. The internal blueprint is creating the experience. This is why two people can face the same event and feel completely different emotions. One person sees silence and thinks, they must be busy. Another sees silence and thinks, I am being discarded. Same event, different meaning. Meaning drives emotion. Emotion drives behavior. Behavior creates outcomes. Most people are not reacting to reality. They are reacting to the meaning their old wounds assigned to reality. The anxious attachment pattern often creates people who chase. They overgive, overthink, overanalyze, and overinvest. They believe love must be earned through effort. They become experts at reading mood changes, trying to prevent abandonment before it happens. But the tragedy is this. In trying so hard to secure love, they often destroy their own peace. The avoidant pattern creates the opposite appearance, but often the same pain. These individuals distance themselves when intimacy grows. They value control more than connection because vulnerability once felt dangerous. They may appear strong, detached, and self-contained, but often beneath that surface is unresolved fear. Distance becomes armor. Then there are those who move between both extremes, wanting closeness, then fearing it, reaching out, then retreating. They live in contradiction, confusing themselves and everyone around them. None of these patterns are character flaws. They are adaptations. At some point they helped you survive emotionally. But survival strategies that remain too long become prisons. What protected you in one chapter can sabotage you in the next. Healing begins when you stop moralizing your behavior and start studying it. Instead of saying, "Why am I like this?" ask, "What did this pattern once protect me from?" That question removes shame and introduces intelligence. Shame keeps people frozen. Curiosity sets them free. Real self-worth is not built through compliments, followers, attention, or being chosen by someone attractive. Those things create temporary spikes, not lasting stability. Self-worth is built when you keep promises to yourself, when your behavior matches your values, when you can sit alone without feeling empty, and when rejection does not alter your sense of identity. Most people try to feel valuable by being desired, but being desired is unstable because it depends on others. Value rooted in external approval will always create anxiety, because what others give, others can withdraw. Internal value is different. It comes from competence, discipline, integrity, emotional regulation, and self-respect. It is slower to build, but almost impossible to take away. When you develop that kind of worth, relationships change. You stop begging for clarity. You stop tolerating disrespect for fear of loneliness. You stop confusing chemistry with compatibility. You begin choosing from strength instead of choosing from hunger. This is the shift people notice immediately. Your posture changes. Your speech becomes cleaner. Your energy becomes calmer. You are no longer trying to be selected. You are evaluating. You are no longer asking, "How do I keep them?" You are asking, "Do they belong in the life I am building?" That question alone can transform years of suffering. Heal the pattern, build the worth, and watch how quickly manipulation loses its power. When you know your value, you can make decisions based on that value. No one can rent your soul with attention. After you learn to master your emotions and heal the attachment patterns that once controlled your behavior, the final step is liberation through detachment. This is where many people become confused because they hear the word detachment and assume it means becoming cold, indifferent, or emotionally numb. It does not. Detachment is not the absence of care. It is the absence of slavery. Most suffering comes from trying to control things that were never ours to control. We try to control how people feel about us, how quickly they reply, whether they remain loyal, whether they understand our intentions, whether opportunities arrive on our timeline, whether life unfolds according to our preferences. Then reality refuses to cooperate, and we call the result stress. Stress is often the emotional tax paid for arguing with reality. There is a simple truth that mature people eventually discover. You can influence many things, but you control very few. You control your effort, your preparation, your standards, your boundaries, your habits, your interpretation, and your response. Beyond that, much of life remains uncertain. The more energy you spend trying to dominate uncertainty, the weaker you become. Think about how much human energy is wasted every day on imaginary negotiations, replaying conversations that already happened, predicting disasters that never arrive, wondering what someone meant by a sentence, a pause, a glance, a delayed response, building entire emotional storms from incomplete information. This is not intelligence. It is misdirected attention. The disciplined mind asks a better question. Is this mine to carry? If it is your responsibility, handle it. If it is your preference but not your responsibility, loosen your grip. That distinction can save years of exhaustion. Detachment means you stop tying your inner stability to outcomes you cannot guarantee. You pursue goals, but you do not collapse if the timeline changes. You care for people, but you do not chase those committed to misunderstanding you. You express yourself honestly, but you do not beg to be validated. You love deeply, but you do not abandon yourself to keep someone else comfortable. This is strength with softness, power without bitterness. Philosophically, detachment is the recognition that everything external is temporary. Praise changes, status changes, relationships evolve, markets shift, bodies age, opinions turn. If you build your identity on unstable foundations, anxiety becomes rational because the foundation truly is unstable. But if identity is rooted in character, then change becomes less threatening. Character travels with you when circumstances do not. Psychologically, detachment reduces emotional reactivity because it removes the false belief that every outcome defines you. If someone rejects you, it may simply mean mismatch. If a plan fails, it may mean adjustment. If a person leaves, it may mean their path diverged from yours. The ego interprets events personally. Wisdom interprets them accurately. This does not mean passivity. Detachment is not sitting back and accepting mediocrity. It is acting fully while remaining internally free. You can work relentlessly and still be detached from applause. You can pursue excellence and still be detached from comparison. You can desire connection and still be detached from desperation. That is the paradox. When you need less, you often attract more. People trust calm energy. Opportunity favors those who are prepared rather than frantic. Relationships improve when they are chosen freely rather than gripped tightly. There is also a quiet dignity in letting things go without spectacle. Not every disappointment requires revenge. Not every misunderstanding requires explanation. Not every loss requires collapse. Sometimes the strongest move is a private acceptance followed by disciplined forward motion. Imagine the freedom of no longer needing everyone to agree with you, stay with you, praise you, or understand you. Imagine waking up and directing your energy toward what is buildable instead of what is uncontrollable. Imagine becoming so internally anchored that uncertainty no longer feels like an attack. That is what detachment offers. Not emptiness, but peace. Not distance, but clarity. Not withdrawal, but sovereignty. You do not become free when life obeys you. You become free when your peace no longer depends on it.